Hello, my name is Jasmine Woodard with NACE, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Streamlining Your Student's Job Search. We encourage you to actively participate in the chat and please post your questions in the Q&A. It is my pleasure to introduce Charlie Render with Render Analytics. Take it away, Charlie.
Thank you very much. For whatever reason, it's not letting me turn my camera on. I don't know if that's uh, by design or not. Oh, there we go. How's everyone doing? I don't see anyone else's cameras today, so I'll be talking into the wind a little bit. So we'll do our best to kind of make it as interactive as possible. We will be checking the chat throughout, so feel free to throw on those questions as they come to you. We're not afraid to get stumped, so throw our way here. It's nice to meet everyone. It's nice to see everyone here and take such a big interest in AI and how that's impacting your business. My name is Charlie Render. I am the CEO and founder of Render Analytics. And as a company, we work with all different kinds of AI and data related solutions, right? We work with big companies like Marriott Hotels and Blue Cross Blue Shield, but also small and medium-sized organizations, and we help them basically implement AI in their day-to-day lives and implement data and reporting and automation and all that kind of fun stuff that you think of when you think of data. And through our experience, we've really worked with a lot of employers on the AI side of things. And over the years, we've sort of discovered that specifically in the space of job seeking, employers are investing heavily in automation, in AI, in ways to get through and filter for the best candidates quickly. But there's a new boom that's emerged, and that is sort of AI around benefiting the job seeker. I see someone here. Hello from Portland State. We got hello from UMass. Glad everyone can join us. And by the way, feel free to throw in the chat where you're from, who you are, where you're from, where you're joining from. Might just call out on you later. Uh, so today we're going to talk about pragmatic AI for the job seeker, right? And specifically, that is all about making sure you, as the career specialist, can make sure that your students, your alumni, the people who you work with who are trying to find jobs are in a position to succeed. Now, there's nothing quite like the good old-fashioned way of building rapport with companies. But in today's world, there's new tools that you just got to be aware of that in a hyper-competitive landscape, you should just at least be aware of what they're doing, the benefits, the pros, the cons, and whether or not any of these tools are right for you or your students. So today we're going to go through a few tools, including one of our own called Apply Genie that uses AI to actually automate some of the job application filling process. And we're going to go and review a bunch. And we're going to kind of see what pragmatic AI looks like in this space, where it's going, and sort of the direction that we're going to see it in the next couple of years. But we're also going to talk about today, what you can do right now. I'm gonna look at the chat here. Does anyone have any comments or questions before we get started here? I see all these great locations here. Hello from USC, love it. BYU, great. So first, let's talk about some of the different tools that are available right now for job seekers. And specifically, I'm gonna call out some tools specifically that are effective, they're cheap or free, they're pragmatic, and your students can use them right now. So we're really not here today to talk about theory of AI and are we all going to be taken over by AI overlords in a few years? We're really not here to talk about that. We're talking about what can our students do today. Hello, Purdue. Hello, Northeast Iowa Community College. And then we're going to look through one of our own tools, Apply Genie, to get a taste of what that looks like. And then we're going to have some time at the end to kind of discuss everything we talked about today, open up the floor for questions, both about the tools we discuss and the topic in general. And we can go from there. So let me see here. Let's see if I can. Here we go. So what I really worry about with these tools, and what I've noticed as we talk to job seekers and career specialists around the country, is that we actually aren't totally ready to let go to AI yet. And by that I mean it's sort of a scary thing to let the AI do the whole process for you. So when we look at these tools, at least in today's landscape, we're actually not looking to totally let go to the AI. We're looking to let the AI be an assistive tool to speed up our processes, cut some time in some of our more repetitive tasks and things that maybe take up a lot of our time, but aren't necessarily taking a lot of our creativity. And that's really where it's useful today. So when I look at tools, it's really important to me that we look at tools that don't just automate away all responsibility from the job seeker and, make it where the job seeker doesn't even know what they're applying to or things like that, right? So with that in mind, let's look at a few tools. So the first set of tools that I want to talk about are resume writing AI tools. And I'm sure a lot of you in this field who are listening in today, you're probably already using something at your school. And if you're not, your school's probably actually a little behind on the curve. So AI writing tools essentially allow you to put your resume in as an input, and it will edit your resume and output a better version of your resume. So an example of that tool might be, for example, Zeti, which is an AI-powered resume builder with customizable templates and real-time content suggestions, which is nice. So in other words, in real time, it can read what you're putting in and give you a better variation, what I like. So in other words, it's not just writing your resume for you, it's tailoring and refining your existing resume in a way that's going to put you in a position to succeed. I really like that particular product. It also does cover letters. Another one that I really like is Hiration, and it's another AI-driven resume and cover letter builder. But what I like about this one is it's really industry-specific recommendations. So it evaluates resumes based on ATS compatibility as well, which basically means, right, it can know what kind of resume that the employer is looking for and try to accommodate the resume to fit the format and maybe even some of the keywords of the desired outcome, the desired job that's being brought in. Has anyone here in the chat ever used Zeti or Hiration before? I see a bunch of people still joining in here. Yes, I see someone, Nicole. Nicole, nice. Everything that we're talking through here is either free or has a very affordable minimum plan. I see someone asked about price. Some people here have used Hibration, some haven't. Someone mentioned another one, VMock. We'll get into mock interviews in a second, actually. So I'm glad to see that some people here are already familiar with some of the resume tools. That's one of the more common use cases right now. What about job listing search AI tools? And I see all these other cool ones in here. People are adding Skill Syncer, things like that. Um, so what about job listing search AI tools? Uh, these are tools that basically go out and scour the internet and bring in uh, ultimately jobs from different sources so you can kind of collect them all in one place. It's hard nowadays to just go on LinkedIn or go on monster.com and just find all the jobs you're looking for. And so there's AI tools that basically have scraping from several third-party websites and they aggregate them in one place. And then they can essentially recommend jobs to you based on your personal preferences, based on this giant aggregation, right? So one example of that I'm particularly fond of is called Hiring Cafe. And if you've ever used Hiring Cafe, if you've never checked it out, it's actually totally free. It's literally hiring.cafe. And it uses AI to curate job listings based on skills and preferences. So it's basically putting jobs in front of you based on what your skills are. And it's doing it from across several different tools. It integrates with job boards and company career pages. So even like individual companies like Google are being captured here to provide a centralized job discovery platform. And ultimately, it offers AI-powered insights on job matching. So it kind of tells you if it's a good fit or not, which is a really nice cherry on top. So it's not just bringing jobs together, it's also helping you understand, yeah, these are good fits for you. These are maybe not so good fits. A competitor to them is JobRight, and that's another AI-driven job matching engine. It analyzes job descriptions and candidate profiles for the better fit recommendation. So similarly, it's bringing in jobs from multiple sources, but it's prioritizing relevance sort of based on the job seeker's skills, their preferences, and the job descriptions themselves. So both of these tools are using AI sort of as a matchmaking and an aggregating feature. But then there's the pragmatic use case of just bringing all these listings together as well. Um, I see someone here just posted something that's hosted by JobRight. Do any of the job listing search AI tools list internship opportunities as well? Does it pull from places like Handshake? Great question, Jim. So yes, these do often include internships, but it's based on the tools that they're pulling from, right? So if they're pulling from third-party sites that are listing internships, the internships will appear. We're going to talk about Apply Gene in a second as well, and that also has the ability to do internships. And does it pull from places like Handshake as well? That's a little more rare because Handshake usually requires a logged in experience to even access listings. So when you find a tool that can do handshake, you cling on to it. Okay, let's see here. We got a couple more and by the way, in the chat, I love it that you guys are sharing some of your own personal tools that you've had good experiences with. That's great. Give me 1 second here while we go. Okay, great. So job application AI tools. So you've found the jobs that you want. You've got a good looking resume. What about actually filling out job applications? So our own tool in-house, Apply Genie, essentially fully automates the job application process for you by auto-filling in questions on applications accurately based on your input information, right? So it basically connects to third-party listing sites like Indeed, LinkedIn, whatever you can imagine, and it will use AI to actually fill out job applications for you based on the jobs that you want to apply for and based on inputs that you provide. And it can also save applications as drafts, so it fills out the whole application, but you as the human being can review it, make any last minute tweaks, whatever you want before you click send. And we're going to look more, we're actually going to show you a sneak peek of Apply Genie in a second here. We're going to do kind of a preview to get a feel of what that might look like. But we also have another one in our field called Lazy Apply, and they're a little bit more of like a Chrome extension, but essentially the same idea is you can have a job application you're interested in, and it'll autofill. So look, I mean, not to talk trash about Lazy Apply, but it's a little less advanced. But ultimately, there are tools that are kind of connecting to Chrome extension and at least autofilling basic questions like name and address and things like that that you have to repeat over and over and over again as you're filling out applications. So that repetitive task of answering those same questions over and over again, it's becoming less repetitive here. And the idea is it's answering questions for you in a way that's based on your input information. Has anyone used any tool, these or any, when it comes to sort of AI job application autofilling? I'm just going to look at the chat here. Teal.com. I'm not familiar with that one in particular. And that has auto apply as well, Treed. I would love for you guys to chime in on the chat. Oh, interesting. Cool. So there's a few more that are popping out like this. Yes, we will be at the NACE conference in June. I see Kevin asking. Come step by our exhibit. I think our exhibitor booth is either 302 or 303. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we'll actually be releasing our newest Apply Genie 2.0 there for you guys to be able to test out yourselves if you're curious enough. So you can come check us out. Yes, Simplify is another competitor as well. I see David mentioned that. And yeah, they all have great job tracking, sort of like they become your central hub of applications. We'll get more into that piece in a second here. So just continuing on, we also have interview prep AI tools. So let's say you got the interview, you applied to the job, you got the interview, but you need to practice with someone. You don't necessarily want to practice with the mirror like the good old days, or you don't necessarily have someone to bounce it off of. There are basically AI tools now that can watch you on camera go through an interview and give you honestly really good feedback based on, and I see people already posting some of these VR mock interview tools out there. That's great. I'm so glad. I'm going to point out a couple more as well, but throw in the chat any ones that you guys have personally had good experiences with. So one that I like is Interview Warmup by Google, which is free. And it's free, and it's an interview practice tool that simulates real interview scenarios. So it provides instant feedback on responses by identifying keywords, patterns, areas for improvement. And it's designed primarily for tech-related roles. It's actually available for a wide variety of industries. So that's definitely a cool one that I like to throw. I see a couple of people adding some more. And then Practica AI is another good one. And it's basically another mock interview coach that provides personalized feedback and based on not just the content, but on your delivery style. So based on answers, delivery, speech analysis, tone. So it could analyze me here speaking to all of you and say, Charlie, you're talking too fast, which is something that these tools have told me in the past. So it's a powerful tool, not just in terms of making sure you're saying the right things, but also helps you improve how you're saying it. So these are all some really cool, and again, everything on this list is either free or has a very cheap or entry level point that you can explore. And these are all tools that you can use for your students, right? Now, the idea is, of course, your students are doing all of the right things as well. They're meeting people, they're sending intro emails, they're, trying to build relationships on campus events. But in today's world, you've got a certain quota that you've got to hit to get a certain amount of your students hired. You've got pressure on you, and not all students are going to follow all of the best practices. And sometimes just getting good tools in your students' hands can help you incrementally improve those percentage of students who are getting hired right out of school, especially for some of those students that might be struggling a little bit to find that first role. All right, I got a good question here. Are these only for English languages? Really great question. So it really depends tool to tool. Some of these tools are only available for English or English and Spanish at this point in time. Some, like Interview Warm Up by Google, are multilingual at this point. Um, Apply Genie, which we're about to show you guys in a second, is we do support English and Spanish, and we're working on Hindi at the moment as our next language that we can support. So I know that there's definitely a pressure there to be able to support, you know, applications in all languages. How much concern, I'm just reading these questions here, everyone. How much concern should we have about personal information in those easy apply bots? Uh, you should be concerned. Now, every bot has its own rules, and you have to kind of do your research before you make any decisions because a lot of these AI tools out there, the real value proposition for themselves is collecting all this great data, right? And you're almost more of the product than the customer. So it is good to be careful and be really thoughtful about the information you are versus are not willing to give up, right? For most tools, what I like to say as a general rule is, are they making you collect, name, email address? Okay, that's fine. But if they're starting to collect more sensitive information about you, you should probably start raising some alarms. I hope that answers your question, Carrie. Cool. So continuing on here. So let's take a look at Apply Genie. So this tool in particular is our little baby, and so obviously I'm a little biased here, but I do love this tool because of sort of what it really is all about the simplicity of AI, right? And our inspiration. So this is not a product that we built for any of our customers. We actually this is our own internally owned product. And it was actually originally inspired by my wife at the time, didn't like her job, and she was so exhausted after a long day of work every day. She just didn't have the energy to go and start applying to jobs. So that was sort of the idea where it all began, and we came up with the tagline, applying for a job is a job, right? Uh, so we're going to show you what Apply Genie looks like here in a second, just to get an idea of one of these AI tools in action and get a feel for it. I mean, if it's not right for your school, it's totally fine, but it's good to be aware of what's out there, right? Does anyone have any questions before we hop in? I'm just going to look at the chat one more time. Okay. Yeah, we advise to leave out or mask student information. That's absolutely right. What about issues of mass applying to roles? Companies are getting a lot of fluff applications right now that don't match the requirements as well. So that's true, right? And it's important that the tools that you're using are accurate. And actually, it's funny for Apply Genie, one of our most important pieces of feedback that we've gotten that has really changed our product over the last couple of years is the feedback that I want every student's application to be thoughtful, right? I don't want to send out answers that are only 60% on the nose, 70% on the nose, which is why we have the feature to have the tool fill out, and then the student can review it before they apply, and ultimately be able to spot check anything, make sure it's appropriate, answer any questions. And also the tool doesn't attempt to apply to anything that's outside of its limits of information. So for example, if the question is, how many years of experience do you have with project management? It's able to differentiate, look at your resume and say, I have 8 years of experience in project management. But if the question is, tell me about a time you struggled with a colleague, the tool isn't going to attempt to answer that. It's going to save the application, say this is one that you might want to apply to yourself, but it won't attempt to answer something that's just not true, right? So it is sort of structured in that it isn't trying to push the limits based on the information it doesn't have available to it. Does Apply Genie have a free option? We give away 10 free job application automations to anyone online, student or no, on the website. So yeah, you can go check it out. We do offer a university module version that some colleges and universities are already on that basically allows your students to access it for free and get hundreds of job applications every month for free. So if you're interested, come check us out at the NACE conference, and we can talk all about that cool stuff and check out version 2. But for now, let's get into it. Let's go check out version 1. Can everyone see can there someone call out and make sure that they see the second tab here that I've opened up on the chat? Yep, perfect. Cool. So basically, and again, I'm going to show you V2 here in a second, but you connect to the third-party tool. LinkedIn and Indeed are the public-facing ones, but as a university, we can work on any custom integration you want. I think someone mentioned Handshake earlier. Yes, we can accommodate Handshake. Ask us about it. Ask us if you should, because there might be a question to think, is Handshake the appropriate use case for this? But we can do that. You basically fill out some basic information about yourself that are one time. It's always during the demo, huh? Okay. Oh, maybe I just need to make sure my resume is correct. That would do it. New York, Bronx, huh? I just did demo earlier today too. So let's see, make sure it loads here. So while it's loading, basically the way it works is you're then able to review. I'm logged into the wrong account. That would do it, huh? Let's stop sharing real fast. Log into account that has applications ready to go. One moment, guys. When you're logged into the wrong account right here. Right, here we go. Here we go. That's better. Okay, so what you can basically see is it'll apply to jobs for you based on your inputs that you'll give to the tool, and it'll shoot out all these different jobs that you can apply to, and then you can click on any of those jobs individually, and it'll take you right to the link. You can apply for jobs and then have it set to the setting where it lists out those jobs in advance before you apply, so you can pick the jobs that you want to apply to before you apply to them. It'll even give you in our V2 that's coming up in June, so please check out our booth. It'll even give a scoring system, so it'll tell you there's a 73% match, there's an 89% match. So it'll kind of help you prioritize jobs. And ultimately, then you can review all of your jobs in one central source. You can click on it, and it'll even take you to that third-party job listings application where you can see that you applied and review that application. Or again, if you saved it as a draft, you could fill it out and then submit it from there. So it takes you straight to the third-party listing, and you're basically able to go from there. Let's try this. We get through our address one time here. There we go. Just add some skills. We have some questions that you input one time that help us to fill out only jobs that are appropriate for you. And then you have the ability here to actually put in information that's really specific to the roles that you want, right? I don't want to apply to a librarian if that's a job, if that's not my background. So maybe I'll put in a really specific long tail or really generic job title. I can focus on a specific location if I want. I only want to look at jobs in Orlando, where I want to do everything in the country, or I want to do Florida, whatever it is. Based on the number of jobs I have available to me, I can say go out and apply to 5 jobs, 20 jobs, 100 jobs. I can input some basic information. I can even exclude employers. Let's say I don't want to apply to an employer I used to work for. I can make sure that doesn't happen. I have the choice to choose the jobs up front or just let the AI do the work for me and choose the jobs and apply to them. So I basically have different options here, and then the magic works. And then we'll see more of those applied jobs here in a moment on the applied jobs tab. Uh, so that's just one example of a tool that uses AI to be able to sort of speed up the process for you there. And then as we'll see our results starting to come in through here in a moment, you can filter, you can even mark a job as I got the interview, so it becomes your own personal sort of tracking system. And you can export that to Excel or CSV or whatever you want to add to any third-party tracking system, Google Sheet you want as well. We're just sitting here. We should expect to see some more applications come through. We'll just kind of chat here for a moment while we're letting the automation work its magic, and we'll just start to see completed applications come through the funnel. Okay, let's check the chat here. see a bunch of questions. So okay. All right, I see a ton here, guys. So I'm just gonna go down the list. What is the criteria for the match? So we have input preferences, and our V2 is actually getting even more advanced, but it's based on a combination of things. Ultimately, there's an algorithm in the middle that matches a score, but ultimately it's based on the inputs around the jobs that you're interested in, as well as the qualifications that you have from your input profile. So the tool will read your LinkedIn or your Indeed, it'll read your resume, it'll read your inputs that you put into your profile, and it'll use that to both match you with jobs and apply to the jobs for you. So answering all the questions. Um, if you use Apply Genie, do students have to apply to jobs through Indeed since so many have bad experiences using that platform? Can you add other platforms such as Glassdoor? So the generic public-facing version that is not a university module includes Indeed and LinkedIn, but for universities and colleges, we do often have requests for custom module connections, which we can accommodate, including Glassdoor, Venture Loop, and I think we were mentioning one earlier that's escaping me. Okay. Does the platform aggregate job postings from US sites only? No, Plygene it's all based on the third-party platforms that we're pulling from. So as long as it's there, we can pull it. If LinkedIn is taking you off their site to apply, does it still apply for you? No. So the tool, and this is true of both version 1 and version 2, but the tool will essentially, if it takes you off site, it'll save the job and ask you to fill it out, and it'll basically give you an option of show rejected jobs list here. You can see at the top where it'll basically say all the jobs that it couldn't apply to on your behalf. Now, that's one of our goals moving forward, though. So in the next 6 to 12 months, we are hoping to be able to start handling off-link applications to third-party direct sites like Google, Amazon, etc. That's been one of our number one requests. So ask us about that at the conference if you're curious. If the third-party listing is taken down, will Apply Genie still show that position? No, the tool applies in real time, so it scans the current results as of what's listed right now and only applies to jobs that are listed in that exact moment. It will not apply to any jobs for you that are inactive on the third-party listing site. And you can see just in us chatting here, we've got an analyst role that came through that we just applied for on our screen share here. And as we continue to refresh over the next few minutes, we'll see more and more come through. All right, continuing the questions here. Does this tool tailor the resume for the job? V1 requires you to update the resume for every run that you want to do that's different job title specific. So we ask you to update your resume, but you can do that in that apply to job step, right? Oh, here's our finished applications here. Here they are. We just applied to these 3 jobs just while we were chatting. So I think someone was just asking, you have to update your resume here every time based on the roles that you wanted. How much does Apply Genie cost? $10. We give away 10 applications for free. After that, if it's just public facing, you can pay for X number of applications. The university module, the pricing is pretty simple. It's $1.99 per student seat per month under any university plan. So you could have 100 seats. You can do the math, and we do work with different universities and colleges on pricing. So you can talk to us about that. But you would basically be able to give each student seat that you have hundreds of applications per month that they can use. Is there a way to filter for international student-friendly jobs? Great question. Some of the questions that are inputs include things like, do you require sponsorship? Really common questions that happen across a lot of different applications. So you can filter for that specifically. Does the tool also allow intake LinkedIn profile? Yes, it does. It takes LinkedIn profile as input information. So if you have stuff on your LinkedIn, it can read your profile and help to answer questions based on those LinkedIn background experience, including things like volunteering even. Does this have any consideration for work authorization visas? Yes, there's a filter for that. What do you do with student data? So this particular tool only collects their LinkedIn or Indeed information, as well as the profile setup info. It's not stored or sold for any purpose beyond that. So we're actually really, it's very important to us that we're very student safe. Our hosting's in AWS. We don't sell data to any third-party provider. And because almost all the data is happening in the third-party tools like LinkedIn, we actually don't have to collect almost anything about you from a storage perspective to be able to do what we do. It's all coming from third-party sites. And we don't train based on your data. Okay. Do you differentiate resume at all by type of role? Yes, you should update your resume for every role. What job sites are you sourcing jobs from? LinkedIn, Indeed are public facing, but we can, again, do anyone for universities. Ask us about some of the custom ones we've done in the past. Zeddy or Hiration? I have a question here about Zeddy and Hiration. Allow you to make ATS-friendly resumes tailored to a specific job description. Yes. So that you can use a lot of these tools together, right? You can combine tools that build job-specific resumes and plug them into tools that fill out job applications for you, right? That's a very common sort of direction where we see things heading. If it's public facing jobs, we can scrape them. If it's private, we can't. That's one thing I should probably mention here because I see a couple questions about that. All these great questions, they keep coming here. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and make sure that we get through everything, but I want to answer a few more here. Can we please reiterate the cost after the 10 free apps? So for a university, basically the base price is $1.99 per student per month. For individuals who are not affiliated with a university in any way, like, and we have university plans that have custom features for each university, single sign-on, all of the things that a university needs. For an individual user, it's basically like anywhere between 50 and 99 cents per automated application if they're just coming in off the street. What is our success rate? So we have some survey stats that we'll have at the conference, but overall, over half of the users who try this thing get at least one interview, and over 25% end up getting an offer if they're using a certain number of applications. And as we know right now, getting a job application is tough, and it's a numbers game, right? Our survey results indicate that the more that you apply for, the higher the placement rate is. Appreciate you're not training on submitted data. Yes, I appreciate your appreciation. Are multiple resumes allowed in the system at a time? If so, different resumes, yes, different resumes are allowed into the system at a time. What is your nonprofit that is a program for students? What if you're a nonprofit? All right, so if you're a nonprofit, reach out to us. We actually do have free access for certain nonprofit programs. For example, we give away free unlimited usage for military veterans in the US for free. So we do work with nonprofits on special pricing and even just free usage. So if you're a nonprofit, come reach out to us. All right, I'm curious if there's a tool recruiters use to search for the use of these AI tools on resumes, similar in how they are using AI to check the plagiarism in schools. So is there AI to detect AI? I think is what your question is, Crystal. And the answer is to some extent, yes, but it's really only true on longer form questions. So right now in the job market, in most first round job interview questions are short answer and never more than a couple of sentences. It really becomes detectable when you're talking about like whole paragraphs of text. So because we don't really touch those and we don't touch the long-winded ones that we just don't have the answer to, it really avoids that problem. Yes, $1.99 per month per student is the price. Okay, cool. I actually caught up to all the questions here. Amazing. So let's go back and if you can see here, we applied to our jobs. You can click got the interview. You can explore past logs. You have a dashboard to kind of track all of your different data, so on and so forth. And come check us out at the conference. We have V2 on the way
Apply
here.
Genie V2 helps job seekers get hired faster with a streamlined UI. Smarter search. And new control to handpick jobs before our AI applies. V2 gives your candidates more power, less friction, and better results. Streamline your job search like magic. Built to get job seekers hired faster and easier.
So we are also developing sort of a V2 that, again, will be available to the public at the conference. If you're going to be there, come check us out. But the idea is you can actually pick all of your jobs in advance too. So it becomes more of like a combination of an aggregator and a auto apply tool. Do these applications include cover letters? Yes, the tool can write basic cover letters, but it's as good as the information that it gets. So I recommend to all users, make sure that your inputs are really strong. can you show us an application example that's sent out and how that differs from another one? Come to me at the booth and we'll do real ones together in real time and we can review the applications together. So definitely come check out the booth and we'll have a laptop there and people can come walk up and do their own test one in real time, review the application, review what the answers look like, and sort of do their own test run there. Overall, that's just, again, one more example of AI in the modern world here and where we're going. And like I said, this is just one tool, Apply Genie, and we talked about a few other tools that we're personally fans of here at Render Analytics. But I also want to open the floor to questions, not necessarily related to these tools in particular, but we can. But also, if you have questions about how else people in your position can leverage AI or where the market is going, because we also work with a lot of employers. So we're really familiar with how the other side thinks about all of this. So we're happy to kind of get into the weeds here. And I'm happy to talk any question you guys might have about Apply Genie, about the AI, about where the market is going, really. So I kind of want to open up to questions here about either the tool or the market in general and where we're going. Okay. I'm not sure how often, I'm just reading one question here. I'm not sure how often this would come up, but the Genie is applying in the job has I'm not a robot question. How does it handle that? So the tool does handle CAPTCHA and two-factor authentication. So if a question comes up and it's CAPTCHA related, it'll all be automated. The first time you sign up, you might be asked for two-factor authentication one time, but other than that, it basically accommodates and the tool can navigate that on its own. Don't forget about networking, good old-fashioned connections. And that's a great point. And I should add that all these AI tools here, and this is not just this is true of this field, but also of the market of where AI generally. In order to be successful with this in the long run, we want to meld with it with our good old-fashioned strategies, but not replace our good old-fashioned strategies. I think that the people who realize how they can use this in combination with networking, building relationships, studying up on different businesses and industries and understanding what they really want to do, it's that combination that really puts people together in success. So I certainly wouldn't recommend replacing a full job search with AI. I would recommend thinking about ways you can kind of add it in to speed up your process. Is there a way to see an application example if we're not able to attend the NACE conference? Email us and we can set up a meeting, or we can send you our portfolio of past applications, surveys, things like that. As opposed to generative AI, what type of AI is this tool? And the other tools that you shared considered? So that's a really good question. So what are the different types of AI out there in today's world? There's text and chat-based AI, anything that is remotely resembling ChatGPT, right? Where you have input text and you have output text. That's a certain kind of AI. Image and video AI is becoming increasingly popular right now, right? Where it can both have image and video inputs and analyze them, or have text inputs and output them as images or videos. So we are sort of seeing AI go in that direction. And the mock interview tools, for example, use that type of AI. This tool is really just using AI for, one, a matchmaking algorithm, two, language modeling for answering questions. So those are really the main ways in which in matchmaking and in filling out job applications. That's how this tool is using AI. But all the tools that we talked about, they're mostly chat-based with some photo and video incorporation. And then generative AI, for those unaware, is more of like automation, right? Imagining an agent, or sorry, agentic AI. Imagining a bot who's like your personal servant who's completing steps for you. That's sort of the other big bucket of AI. And as we move towards general AI, it'll sort of be a combination. Will we have access to the recording of this webinar? Yes. That'd be a question for Jasmine, but yes. In addition to job title, can the job seeker specifically specify geographic locations? Yes, you can filter by city, state, or country. So you can do that as much as you want. Students are using, and again, these other third-party tools do that too. Like, for example, Hiring Cafe, you can do that as well. So you can put in the preferences that matter to you. Students are using AI to build cover letters, which makes sense to save time. But I heard recruiters are using AI detection tools. We tell students to be sure to humanize letters before sending. Considering this, any guidance on how to best use AI to build cover letters? Yes, the best advice on AI, but specifically for cover letters, and then we've seen this working with employers too, right? Because they're going out of their way to try to prevent the AI from writing the cover letters. Have the job seeker one outline the cover letter themselves before it goes into AI, and then have that person also do their own layer of customization on the back end as well. So in other words, combine your human element with the AI to avoid any sort of AI detection mechanism, and you should be okay. That's the key here, right? Is don't rely 100% on the AI to do everything. Give it good information to and combine it with that human touch that will make it less detectable. In addition to job title, can job seeker, yes, geography, okay. What are your thoughts on the fact that now employers are dealing with way more applications per posting? It's even harder to weed through. That's kind of the problem, right? And that's kind of the idea of Apply Genie is you could spend 30, 45, 60 minutes on a job application that might never get reviewed by a human because employers, and I know this because they're hiring companies like us to do this, are using AI to review resumes, review applications, review serious contenders through automation tactics before a human being ever looks at this. So it's almost like a fighting fire with fire approach. But it is concerning. And I think that if you ask me where this is all going in 2 to 5 years and where we would like to go, it's sort of a two-sided marketplace where everyone's getting matched. The employer is happy because they're getting 98, 99% matches on their listings, and the employee is happy because they're getting match made with their best offers. So I do think that sort of a two-sided marketplace with AI is sort of where it has to go in order to address that problem. But it's a serious problem. And on top of that problem, no one asked this, but a common question is about sort of ghost listings and how tools like Indeed, I think someone kind of hinted at this, have less valuable listings than they were even 5 years ago, because a lot of employers will just post a listing with no intention of ever hiring anyone. Maybe it's for data collection, maybe it's for marketing, they have their reasons. And which makes it all the more a numbers game. So from our point of view, one, we have to make sure that's as easy for people as possible to kind of sift through that. But two, we've noticed that they're mostly on a few sites, and that's kind of why we have to go in the direction of and being able to apply to jobs directly on employer sites for that exact problem to try to avoid those types of issues. Any insight on how talent acquisition is handling the volume of applicants they're receiving now? Many students are getting ghosted, and then yeah, exactly. I just read my mind on that. That's the problem, right? I mean, we're dealing with one of the toughest job markets for students that I can remember. I had someone reach out the other day who is a Stanford grad with a master's degree who is struggling getting hired for computer science. And it's just a brutal job market out there right now. So it's about putting tools in students' hands that make it incrementally easier. And it's sort of a two-sided problem, but the reality is the employers are using these tools regardless. So it's not fair, and the AI future has its bleak components to it that we shouldn't pretend it's all roses and butterflies, right? Fairly obvious question here. How do corporate recruiters feel about the increased use of AI for job applications? Mixed results. So all right, if you're working for the employer, you either understand it or you don't, but you honestly won't even notice if the thing is being done correctly. If you're someone whose job is to be like a headhunter, you might feel threatened. You might say, if you can't beat them, join them. I've seen people really take a mixed group of responses to all of this. But overall, I think everyone understands it's coming. It's just a matter of to what extent they're going to adapt or be happy about it. Would love to know how employers are ranking applications based on AI tools synthesizing information. Are you seeing that employers are only reviewing applications with particular condensed info? So employers are using these third-party ATS tools that basically search for keywords on the resumes in specific terms, specific formats, and if it's not there, toss them, move on to the next application. So employers are now investing in they've been doing that for years, basically, keyword search term sort of scanners that dump bad resumes. The next step that they're going to do, and I know this because I know a couple employers who are investing in this right now, is they're actually going to use AI as the first round interview. So you're going to click it and submit. The tool is going to say, yeah, they qualify based on these basic applications. But instead of being called by an HR screener, they're going to immediately say, talk to AI to screen you. And the first phone call in the interview process is going to be an AI screener. Hi, Bob, how are you doing? Are you ready? And it's going to ask you all those basic, like first round HR questions without a human ever having to get involved. So I know that's where employers are going with all this. It's getting more and more automated, especially the big ones. What if students have questions, issues? What does support look like? There's a full support team for Apply Genie, but from some of these other third-party tools, it varies. Some you have to just write a ticket and hope that they get back to you. But if you're for our tool in particular, there's support. Anthropic, creator of Claude, which is ChatGPT's biggest competitor, for those who don't know, was telling applicants not to use any Gen AI in their application process because they wanted to get to know the real you. I would argue that the later in the interview process you go, the less you should rely on third-party tools. I think that it's a numbers game at the end of the day. We're trying to get a lot of people hired, and not everyone can have the perfectly look. You can only apply to so many jobs every day, right? I agree that there's problems with automation, and companies like Anthropic probably don't want to hire people who are using ChatGPT to fill out their job applications. But if a job application is really simple to fill out and it's just repetitive information that you've already done the previous 30 or 40, that's really more where this type of stuff becomes really helpful, I think. Did you know the recording will be made available? Oh, that's okay. That's just recording information. Our employer contacts are complaining about the volume of applications due to AI received in a few hours of a job being posted. How can AI application help a student stand out with so many other AI generated applications? Great question. The inputs. So there's two pieces. The inputs, you're only as good as the inputs you give. Do you have a portfolio? Do you have a website? Do you have other pieces of information you can feed into these things that are going to stand out? And then secondarily, and again, what I really like about our tool is when you're using these AI tools, save as a draft and let the human being do the final touch, right? Let the human being be the one to kind of say, you know what, I want to add this sentence here. I want to add that extra talking point there. So how do you stand out? Be of the 100 people who are using AI to fill out job applications or using some along some step of the way, be the person who uses some sort of combination, right? Be someone who can stand out outside of the application itself. With so many employers looking at LinkedIn profiles, what AI tools can be used to enhance someone's LinkedIn profile? That's a great question. A couple of the tools, and you'll have this PowerPoint at the end of the session, but a couple of tools we listed there have LinkedIn, similar to like resume improvement tools, they have LinkedIn improvement tools in there so they can give feedback on LinkedIn profiles and how to beef them up. Does Apply Genie's job opportunities tell you if you have a LinkedIn connection or second connection to someone at that company? No, but that's really good feedback, which is basically, do you have personal connections before you apply to that place? I think that's a really, really interesting question. We don't have that today, but that's a good idea. Students who network best will win in the end. Agreed, Chris, agreed. And again, I think that this tool and all the tools we're talking about today, if you're being smart, you're incorporating them as part of a larger strategy. You're not relying on them 100% as your single source of strategy. And look, there's ways to complement this, right? You apply some tools on here and then message people on LinkedIn who are employees of those employers that you applied to, right? So there's things you can even do in the digital space to kind of build on it. The scaling up of app volume has been a 25 plus year arms race. Maybe bigger isn't really better at this point. Chris, I've got a post in Analytics magazine that I published a few months back that I think that you'd really agree with. What industries are using this tool the most and the least? Really good question. So we've noticed that engineering schools, business schools, and liberal arts colleges have been using this. We've noticed things like med schools have really not been, and law schools and things like that. So I think the question is where the schools that have been succeeding are the ones where these third-party job listings are where the jobs are listed, right? Business, tech, things like that. So those have really been the industries where we've been seeing success. It's where about the job listings that we're bringing in. Tools like JobScan identify keywords and point out that they don't match a job description. Yeah. some even reading articles written by recruiters recently who say that AI is not automatically rejecting resumes. I think what is happening is that applications are being ranked by AI. I've seen behind the hood. They work even if they're ranking them. What they're doing is from pragmatic use cases, they're taking the top 20% and saying, let's look at these first, and then they're just dumping the other 80% in the trash, even if the tool itself isn't dumping them in the trash, right? The human being at the end of it is. That's pretty yucky, someone says. Gross. When using I assume you're talking about that. When using the tool to create those cover letters, is it also able to help curate resumes? I've seen students who have resumes that have been created by ChatGPT and it hallucinates numbers, um, and that basically disqualifies them. How does the tool go about avoiding that? So the tool relies as the resume as an input for Apply Genie. So it requires the resume to be done as an input to help answer the questions. Our particular tool doesn't build resumes. It uses resumes. But that is a legitimate complaint about some of these third-party resume AI tools is that they might not do a good job. They might say something that's inaccurate. So you want to make sure, one, you're using a good AI tool like one of the ones we recommended, and two, that you review it as a human being and tweak it and make sure it's accurate. So you might see a theme here with everything I'm saying is AI is not so good in the world today, even ChatGPT, right? Where you can just take everything for its word without spot checking it, right? So I just want to make sure that's really clear here. And again, that's why we allow all of our applications to be saved as drafts, so a user can review it before they click submit. Reduce human contact for applicants in what's supposed to be a human-centered process. Yeah, Chris, I mean, your complaint is valid, and I'm certainly not here today to sell you that AI is going to make the world a 100% better place all at once. And look, your concerns are valid, right? I think that we just kind of have to, this is, again, this whole talk is about sort of the pragmatic view of this, right? Not necessarily the theoretical one. And all these tools are pragmatically useful, but there is something to be said about AI, not just in this use case, but generally taking away human connection a little bit. So I think that's a fair point, and one I'm not going to argue with you about. Someone recommended a LinkedIn optimization tool. Someone recommended a couple other tools. I'd be interested to see how it can not just find connections, but mutual school alumni connections. Yeah, that would be interesting. Just reading through the questions here. I don't believe the stories I've read from recruiters. I couldn't imagine they couldn't keep up with the AI. Yeah, they're definitely lying. And what industries uses this tool the most and least? I think I already talked about that, right? It's tech, it's business school, it's liberal arts colleges, things that you'll find on LinkedIn, Indeed, these third-party job listing sites. Cool. And we actually got through all the questions here. We caught up, huh? We got through all these with 7 minutes to spare. So I appreciate everyone bearing with me here as we go through this long Q&A. And I hope you guys learned something interesting about our tool, about some of the tools that are available in the market, kind of where we're going. And I would be love to give you guys 5 minutes back if we can. But I'll just say here, for those of you who are sort of looking at my screen share, please feel free to reach out if you've got any questions. Even if it's not about any of the stuff that we talked about today and you just got a question, how can I use automation in my, in my work? Reach out to us. We might have a custom solution for you. So it was really a pleasure to speak with everyone. And I hope to see most of you at the NACE conference. Jasmine, I'll hand it back to you here.
Thank you all for attending, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.